welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Happy Hour. Mike, what's up?
A lot of things, Derek. A lot of things.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to our sponsors. Queen City Creative Works is a Etsy shop on roids, and they are a family-owned, locally owned, and operated business. So feel free to head over to queencitycreativeworks.com. They can make personalized items, and they also have a Shop Now button for Buffalo Happy Hour merchandise if you want to help support two businesses at once. QC
What?
CW.
There you go.
Thank you. And Addie, thank you so much for your logo. So,
We're going to do a little thingamajig real quick, though, all right?
what does that mean?
Your camera kept going in and out, so we're going to try to fix it like that, right on
Alright.
the spot.
Sounds good.
So everyone can see the struggles, you know,
Right on the spot, dude.
of being a professional podcaster.
We're trying to do
That's what
something.
we do. We just quit our jobs. No.
No.
What?
Nope. So, I'm going to bring up a point that I made. I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see my status that I posted a little bit ago?
The long one?
Yeah.
Pause. No.
Did you? So you
I
didn't
saw
read it?
I saw it, but I didn't read the whole thing.
Okay.
I was driving at the time.
Okay.
So I was pulled over to the side of the road, actually. Just, clarifications.
Sure. Okay. So, quick fact of the day, and then we'll dive into the status.
Okay.
The fact of the day is Larry Nazar was stabbed multiple times in a altercation with another inmate in prison, and he may or may not live. Not sure. Do you know who that is? He was
No.
he was a doctor for the Olympic gymnasts team for the girls USA team.
Oh, yeah.
He got stabbed a ton of times in prison. Good.
He was doing some weird stuff, right? To the
He's
girls?
yeah, he's like a rapist. He's the
Yeah.
worst. So yeah, I'm glad that happened.
So
Karma's amazing.
He was stabbed multiple times by another inmate.
During an altercation.
Do you think the fight was because of the weird stuff he's
I don't
done?
know. He's been in jail for a while.
Yeah.
So
Do you think you'd make it in jail?
I am pretty, but I don't.
So you'd make it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
You'd be grabbing onto someone's pocket,
maybe
calling them nickel or something.
maybe.
Yeah, you would.
Maybe.
Hell yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I mean,
There's
there's
my pocket.
there's a lot that goes into it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe a little bit.
Would you be the one to not suck up, but like buddy with the guards, or you think you would be more on?
I'd be buddy with everybody.
Yeah.
I would take the same approach I took in high school. Friends in every clique, so I can never get in a fight. You know,
And then you have people to back you up if someone did try to fight you.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
100%.
How long do you think you would go, or you would be in there for before you would be like, listen, I'm struggling here.
You are. You're tired.
No, I'm saying like for you.
Oh.
Wow, rude. But how long would you say like you'd be in prison for until you're like,
Oh,
I'm
dude,
done?
I'm in white collar. I'm in for white collar crimes.
Yeah.
So I'm talking probation, quick fine, make $5 million, you're fined $1 million. So I
So
wouldn't.
you'd be working with the judge to be like, listen, this 6-year sentence isn't acceptable.
Yeah, no. I'm taking a plea. It's fine.
But I think that in that situation, you'd be used and abused in prison because now people know what you're in for. I don't know. How are white-collar criminals treated in prison?
They don't go to prison, dude. Or, well, it depends. It depends on the criminal, and it's also based on the crime, because there's also people that are high profile, and that's a huge deal for, like, street cred inside the jail.
Right.
So if you go in as a celeb, you don't want that on you. You don't want that evil on you, Ricky Bobby. So
You think you wouldn't be able to last that long?
I wouldn't try to push it for more than a year. No.
It's pretty safe.
You?
I don't know. I feel like I would make friends and I would be okay. I would just start lifting and just start giving tattoos even though I don't know how to give tattoos. I feel like that would be my clique. I'd be like, yo, I'm a good tattooist or tattoo artist. I would say tattooist and they'd be like, no, you're not. You're not because you wouldn't call yourself that. But I feel like
Correct.
that would be like, I would go in and I would try to find a hobby that then people come to me for. So I'm a resource rather than a resource like you would be,
And
because you're
I'm
pretty,
not.
you get
Yeah,
it.
and I'm not trying to get in the commissary game. That's too much stress.
Oh, like the food stuff?
Like
Yeah,
Morgan
yeah.
Freeman in Shawshank role. I'm not
Right.
trying to do that where I wheel and deal like, oh, I
No.
got you a poster, like you'll keep me alive for a week. Like I'm not. That's not my game.
I feel like I'd be that dude that like gets people to sneak in whiskey bottles and like ice cream cake or something like that, and then I would just give it out as here's your ration of a dram of whiskey per week.
I might
That's probably
be.
what I would do.
I might get into the politics of prison. Be like, you can't execute that hit right now because I got this deal that's about to land next week Friday. Like, so you gotta hold your beef, until.
So you'd be the politician.
Yeah, I'd be the politician between all the cliques because they're like, that white dude's insane. Like, he'll just say what he wants to say to the brothers, and the Hispanics will just be like, he listens to Don Omar loud all the time. Like, he understands, right? And then for some reason, he knows about, like, T80 turbos or, like, T60 turbos for what?
And then the Italians would be like, he just did his hair like 5 minutes ago. So
exactly,
he's also there,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like moose on deck, and I throw him some.
Who uses moose anymore?
Are you making fun of my game?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I
Moose has a
respect it, though,
purpose.
yeah.
Moose has
At
a
least
purpose.
it's not hairspray and gel.
Correct.
Still.
Correct.
You use that pomade stuff? Is that what you got?
Yeah, a little pomade, Sometimes
Pomade's different.
Sometimes I use hairspray with no hair gel or anything. I'll just, like, my hair's wet, and then I'll just give it a little spritz, just kind of hold it. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Have you ever tried to do anything different with your hair?
Yeah, dude, this is like my third hairstyle in my life. First was a shaved head. I was a cue ball for years.
I don't
then,
feel like
then
that's
I
a
had
hairstyle, though.
Yeah, are
Being
you
shaved
kidding
head
me?
is not a hairstyle.
It's a lifestyle for some people that shouldn't be mentioned on this podcast, and then it's a lifestyle for different careers. Absolutely.
It's a lifestyle, yeah, but it's not a hairstyle. You're not saying, yeah, I changed my hairstyle up, I shaved it.
No, it's a
like, that's not a
hairstyle.
hairstyle. You have no hair to style. It's not a style.
That's why it's a style.
A style's like a quiff, you know?
It's pronounced quaff.
There's differences. Quiff is the quaff is a
Okay, well, anyways.
left or right, you know?
Yeah. For some reason, your Wi-Fi is not connecting on my phone,
Yeah.
and I can't pull up my post.
Good.
So,
You talk about hairstyles.
well, we will, but I need you to pull up my post, too. So, I had, after the cue ball lifestyle, then I had it was almost like a duck bill. Like a little flare up in front, and then now I got the comb over because my hair is natural. I mean, my wave is just doing its thing. I got that front colic that I can't do anything about. I don't know why I just said it like that, but I said it like that.
Yeah,
So
that
deal with it.
colic.
Colic.
That colic, man.
Yeah.
Did you licked by a cow as a kid? You were playing in a field, so probably.
My neighbor did have cows on 5 acres, so that's part of it.
All right, well, let's try to pull up your post here.
It's revolving school. And, well, it's involving school.
Episode 196 is live.
Below that.
M. Kelly shower thoughts. I like how you put your first initial, as if someone reading your post wouldn't be understanding that.
People need to know.
M. Kelly shower thoughts. Well, do you have a signature? Like,
Oh,
when you
I
sign,
was able to pull it up.
when you sign stuff?
Yeah.
Do you have a set signature? Is it M. Kelly or is it Michael?
Well, depends on what I'm signing. Sometimes I'll do Mike, and sometimes I do Michael.
Yeah.
Sometimes I skip my middle initial entirely.
I feel like that's not good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Keep them guessing.
100%. You can't forge me.
Did you
You don't know me, son.
like try to come up with a signature and be like, this is it? Or are you just like cursive and I'm out?
Well, it's cursive, but I tried to mess with it a little bit, and then I just kind of modified it slightly, but I probably should sit down and try to rehash,
Yeah, I mean, when we start signing memorables, you have to have it down.
Got to have it down. So, M. Kelly shower thought. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
America loves America, right? Capitalism is supposed to be the end-all be-all. Speaking in loose terms here, just hear me out. Now it's you. Pass it back and forth.
If all this is the case, wouldn't you want the education system teaching youth about money and or more important specific topics?
Money related. How to manage it. Earn it legally. I like how you put legally in there. Is like drug dealing isn't good. Save it. Forecast. Plan with it. Deal with having it in debt management.
I know my entire generation makes jokes about the following. Don't know how to manage a checkbook, but thank God for hot cross buns. Another day without using logs. Another week without y equals mx plus b, but a week full of tax filings instead. Luckily, either our parents or mentors taught us, or we self-taught due to necessity.
I understand gender and feeling happy, safe, comfortable is important. I understand the two-party system is important. I understand DBQs are important. No, you don't. DBQs were the biggest waste of time.
Listen.
Document-based questionnaires were the worst
Keep
thing
reading.
in the entire world.
Keep reading.
However, regardless of how you identify, regardless of who you vote for, regardless of the research you use to back up your opinion, we all use the dollar bills. We live in a country that uses a free market.
Why aren't we changing that? Why aren't we pushing for that change? Why aren't we learning about the pertinent matters to exist and succeed within the system we live in, the system we were born into? Why isn't the country or its people educating its own youth in order to keep the country it says it loves alive? Like, to me, I feel like if you're in school, you should be learning about real world things. Like, history is real world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that makes sense to learn about. If I'm in middle school, I shouldn't be sitting there learning about the LGBTQ club. I shouldn't be learning about gender. Like, that's not a thing. Like, in my mind, in middle school, I should be learning about high school prep, or like, that's honestly why I liked social studies, because it was broken out into phases of what you're learning and when, so that when it comes time to junior year, you're learning about America. When it comes time to senior year, you can either enroll in AP Euro, or you can take, something very specific in history. Whereas in middle school and then early high school, you're learning about all the ancient civilizations. You're going up through the Nile, Mesopotamia, like so on and so forth, and you're learning about.
People can argue that that's irrelevant. Like, when was the last time you had to brought up the geographical location of the Nile in conversation?
Have you ever? Well, think about it from a traveling standpoint. If you travel to another country, it's good to have that basis of knowledge of like, oh, I'm going to this section of the world. This is there because I learned about it in middle school. So if I'm going to Egypt, I understand the Great Pyramids are there because I learned it in middle school.
Sure, but that also...
So I think it's just having a cultured view outside of like, hey, it's really just situational awareness, which is why I think it's important to answer the question.
But I think situational awareness also applies to learning. I'm not saying it's valid, but LGBTQ, that stuff, because all situational awareness too, in a sense.
If you leave America, though, that's a disconnect in my eyes, right? And there's a hesitation there because our society makes that super important. Whereas if you go to Germany, there's two genders and we're going to work. Like, we got to build the Volkswagen. So like,
sure,
go to the factory and get after it. Or your family's owned a distillery / hotel on the same property for the last 266 years. Like, go work at the hotel and like go work at the brewery because that's a real thing. It's just a different, like, our society makes that so important where, like, I guess that's why I'm saying I understand it's important and I understand, there's a reason for it, but is it necessary?
Right, and I agree with you 100% that it's not necessary, but I also agree to some extent that learning where the Nile is and the ancient civilizations around that also isn't necessary because most of the people don't travel outside of the U.S. Like, we're fortunate that we're able to.
So
learning about that type of geography and getting into AP Euro and learning about y equals mx plus b and all those intricate niches of certain learning should occur once you finally decide your path that you want to go down and if it's relevant. Like, if you're going to be an architect, then absolutely y equals mx plus b. All that stuff around math and quadratic formula and all the angles and all that stuff should be taught to death. But if you're going and you already know in your mind that you're going to be a police officer, you don't really need that. So why are we learning that instead? Like, I 100% agree with your point. But I also think that there's a lot of other useless stuff that's taught just outside of gender theory.
Why isn't any of that being changed? That's my overall point. And I'm using the two, like, I'm using politics, I'm using, gender identities and all that other, like, hot push button things as, like, that's the point, right? Like, I know for certain there's a club in local public schools for the gay community. Okay. Like, okay, it exists. There's not a club that sits down for anybody to learn anything about accounting that I know of. There's nothing about money. There's nothing about taxes. But that's every year that matters. Money matters. Like, you can take I don't care if everybody's non-binary. We can be albino. I don't care. We can all be humans. Homo sapiens living in utopia, rainbows, unicorns, no borders. All that actually does exist. At the end of the day, money's still going to be here.
Currency,
and even if it's not the U.S. dollar, there's going to be something equivalent to in society of value, and you're going to use that to trade. Before there was paper money, we used other things to trade with, and it was food and goods. Like, and I'm not going down the rabbit hole. That's not the point of this. What I'm saying is there's not enough teachings about things that are actually pertinent to being an adult in any K through 12, and I think that should change. And why isn't it changing if we all acknowledge it? If you have an entire plus generation of people acknowledging the fact that none of us have used logs, none of us have used Math B, but every single person has used money and every single person has filed taxes, why isn't that taught or brought up and figured out? Like, you're not teaching us how... Dude, even if you are an architect, I've never seen an architect, a structural engineer, electrical engineer, doctor, accountant, forensic accountant, police officer, artist, name it. I've never seen any single one of them in my 31 years of life walking into a room and playing hot cross buns. But I've seen every single one of them pay for a coffee. Like, why do we do these things? Like,
so I'm going to get all conspiracy theorists on you.
Or, yeah, to keep us dumb. I've thought of that, too, when I was typing it.
There's more, yeah.
But I think... Now, I know the rebuttal, and I know the first comment on the internet, that because this is going to be a clip. I know that. So watch the full episode, for Christ's sake. But I know that the rebuttal is, it's just for overall growth. It's for overall development as a person, which is why we touch on all, so many different things that we possibly can. I'm fine with that. I guess my biggest gripe is that they don't do anything for money and they don't do anything for accounting. They don't do anything for taxes. They literally, like, that should be a required class for 3 credits or something.
Not even just finance, but health and wellness and all that stuff. Like, you have gym and you have health class, but none of it is really jammed into you. It's an elective that you take for 1 semester in, like, 9th grade.
And in biology touches on nutrition to an extent, but not really, the mitochondria. Okay, perfect.
So the reason behind it, in my view, and don't come after me, we don't do research here. We look up topics and we try to have a discussion because this is our lives. This is what we would do even if we weren't recording, is we would just be talking about this stuff. So none of it's research, but we do have educated guesses as to why some of this stuff happens. So my reason that I know is because teachers' unions. The teachers' unions basically control the school and the whole education system of what's being taught, and the teachers' unions are the primary donor of Democrats. That's just what happens. So our tax dollars are going to teachers' unions, which are then funding Democrat candidates that are then forcing down like all these random things, not necessarily to keep us dumb, but things seem to be working from their perspective with the youth in our generation, or at least the loud youth in our generation. So why change things? Why would we want to, from their perspective, teach individuals how to better handle their money and the benefits of capitalism when they want to push socialism? Like, that's the whole bigger level 30,000-foot view that at least I interpret that as they are all in cahoots because of the teachers' unions and who owns and runs the education system, the education secretary, like all that stuff. And that's kind of how things are right now working. And from their perspective, a lot of young people are voting blue, so why change it? That's just a conspiracy theory in my brain thinking, which makes sense.
Which Common Core came from the state. Common Core is an utter disaster. People on both sides of the aisle agree with that. Same with Regents. And Regents we both have Regents diplomas.
Yeah. The Common Core didn't necessarily come from... It was a federal idea, but each state was able to adopt it. So it wasn't like a New York specific thing because Ohio does it too.
What federal...
I don't know. I think it was under the Obama administration that it first came out with the... Yeah, I could be wrong, though. I don't know. But I do know that more than just New York does it, so it's not just a state thing. I think it was a federal thing that they left up to the states to decide. And since we live in a blue state, they decided to run with
George
it.
W.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. No Child Left Behind. Remember that nonsense when we were in 4th grade?
Okay.
Yeah. The Common Core began, in part, as a response to the bipartisan No Child Left Behind Act of 2002, the sweeping federal mandate that required all schools to test students annually in reading and math in the 3rd through 8th grades and once in high school. So...
But that's not Common Core, though.
It is.
That's the whole idea behind it, but the way to teach it is different.
Who created Common Core? 2 nonprofit groups led the effort to write the new standards, and others contributed. 1, the Council of Chief State School Officers represents the top K-12 education officials from all U.S. states and territories. The other is the National Governors Association. because they wanted it to get pushed down. So they obviously had it. That's the breakdown of whatever through
Right.
politics. So the feds came up with it. They brought everybody in that was smart, K through 12. We all know how that went.
Mm-hmm.
They grabbed the dumbest people with the most fake credentials, sat them in a room and said, come up with this. And then they're like, we'll bring the states in so they can push it down to all their delinquents. And then here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks, W. The man that literally, I don't know, he squinted looking at the camera because it was so bright.
Yeah, I think it's just a snowball thing. Like the
And it
whole-
hasn't worked.
Yeah,
it hasn't
has
worked.
not worked.
It's made everybody dumber, and this is why competition's good. Like, kids should get left behind, or they should work harder. There should be tutors. I took reading lab because I was great. I was skyrocketing through it, and then all of a sudden, I plateaued, and then I stayed there, and then everybody got to my same grade of what my reading level was, and then I had to work. I had to literally figure it out, and then I did, and then I was fine. But, I don't know, it's developmental issues. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of being a human being. Nobody's perfect. And the broad stroke is just making us dumber.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the whole. I mean, the No Child Left Behind thing is great in a system that only values education and merit and stuff like that over physical skill, which isn't the case. I mean, we've cultivated that idea that we have a degree and that means everything, but then we've lost all the trades. There's no one in our school that went to school for plumbing, because that just doesn't exist anymore. That type of skill is so left behind because it was this ideology that you need a grade, you need to go for a degree, you need to make it in corporate world or whatever, and it just doesn't make sense
No.
anymore.
And now it's opposite. Right.
Yeah.
So now there's a huge push for trades. BOCES is through the roof. Everybody's getting into it. Now there's, you can make $100,000 a year as a plumber. You can make $120,000 a year as an electrician. You can do those things. It's legitimate. You can also make a stupid amount of money as a welder.
Because there's no one doing it. You can make your
No.
own prices.
Yeah. But I mean, there's everything's got a union. There's union plumbers. There's union electricians. There's private electricians. There's
a union for police.
There's
There's unions everywhere.
Dude, there's unions that flow concrete. There are so many different ways to get into a trade and never worry about any job security ever. And it's just gone to the wayside. Now nobody wants to be a cop,
Yeah.
so they drop standards for police because that's going to solve the problem. Instead of just
It's
investing
going to
more money.
skyrocket incidents then.
Yeah,
at that
you
point.
might as well just invest money in training and stop working 12-hour shifts on the road, and then you're off for, 3 hours, and then you get mandated to come back. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So burnout, divorce, alcoholism, lack of training, lack of funding, all of those things are playing the role, but instead we'll just blame a gun. I don't know. It's just really interesting to me that we all identify what the problems are, except, I don't know. I guess it's not going to change until our kids are in school,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're a part of those meetings and board meetings and, PTA or whatever. I don't know, the school meetings. And we're
Yeah.
just like, dude, this is bogus. Why in the world would my kid need to learn that? And then you have that fight and you have that discussion. And then if it doesn't work,
Well, that's why you enroll your kid in private school.
that's my point.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because I don't think the public schools will change until they literally have almost no enrollment, because everybody went private because nobody believes in what the public education system is teaching anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, man. I don't know. Now that I have a kid, she's a month old, right? So obviously I got plenty of time, but at the same point, there's all these different things happening, and you have to take that into consideration, because if you want your kid to go private, you got to start saving for it now, and then you're also seeing the trends, you're seeing what's actually being taught, you're checking out the different schools, you're seeing what's happening where, and we're in a pretty good spot now where we can actually pick what district we want to move into. So
Yeah.
you're taking a look at all those things, and I don't know, it's kind of fascinating. There's a lot of stuff that it's not pertinent that, a 7-year-old female needs to be taught.
Right.
So
speaking on districts you want to move into, because I had this discussion, I just was in Ohio and I met up with Steve. And Steve and I were chatting about his life when he moved to Columbus and all that stuff. Yeah, so we were talking about that. We were reflecting on Buffalo, and because he was just here in Buffalo, and he was talking about
No high?
his perception of he was here for like 2 days, and it was the day after he had to meet with family, Emma's friends and stuff like that, and then he went back to Columbus. I was obviously able to meet up with him then, but anyway, so I still got some left, bro. You poured me a heavy pour. I was drinking all weekend.
Oh my God.
All right, here you go. Well, I finished the story. So I was talking with him. Hell yeah, just finish it off. Hell yeah. So I was talking with him on the perception of Buffalo and how he came back, and he didn't necessarily say he missed it, because when he was driving through on the thruway, it wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying that there wasn't improvement, because he just moved like 2 years ago. So there's really like not going to be that much improvement in the last 2 years. But it made me reflect on Buffalo. And I saw a stat that said we're like one of the top 3 cities that lost population within the last like, couple years.
Yeah.
So it made me think like what's going on. And I came to the realization that there's pockets of area of Buffalo that are improving. And the most impacted that are not improving are the ones located directly by the thruway. Like that's those primary towns outside the city. The city of Buffalo is growing. It's doing great. They're trying to do so much with Canal Side. The whole city center is thriving right now. They're doing a really good job. The secondary towns, East Aurora, Hamburg, Orchard Park, Williamsville, Clarence, Amherst, like they're all doing great. That primary ring though, Tonawanda, Cheektowaga, West Seneca, Lackawanna, they're all struggling hard. Like, I'm here in West Seneca, and I can see it just getting worse. When I drive towards the city of Buffalo, none of that is like, oh, this is great. It's all getting so much worse. And I'm trying to think of
In what
why.
context?
Like, just development, abandoned houses, and just overall cleanliness. Like, it's just getting so much worse than I remember it. Like, I remember West Seneca being a good place to live. And granted, I'm on the border kind of like of Cheektowaga a little bit, but like I can see it driving down Clinton Street heading towards the city of Buffalo, it's a train wreck.
I mean, yeah. I don't know if that's because of population loss.
No,
I think that's a shift of.
So my idea behind that is I think that, and I was telling Gina this on the way home, and she agreed with it, but she agrees with a lot of things that I say.
There's really no good way to say what it really is, though.
So what I think it is Buffalo, the city center of Buffalo, is getting so much more money invested into it to where lower income individuals aren't able to live there anymore. So I think that that's pushing them
out
to the primary areas
Correct.
of the city center, like Cheektowaga, West Seneca, like that.
It is.
Which is what is driving that. And I was like, I don't know why I never thought of this sooner, because that makes so much sense. They're trying to remove like a lot of the group housing in Buffalo to make shops and apartments that are $1,500.
There's also pushes from the federal government to have Section 8 housing in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So if there's let's just say a $300,000 house in the city in Buffalo, right? A $300,000 house in Buffalo is going to give you, and mind you, if you're listening out of state, our housing market's way different. So the cost of living in Buffalo is not high, right? So a $300,000 house in a new development, you're looking at 3 bedrooms, 1.5 to 2 bath, 1,700 square feet ish, maybe 2,000 basement, and you're on, I don't know, quarter lot, and it's a cookie cutter suburban development. I'm talking like 2 stories, attached garage, driveway, no HOA fees, but like the Leave It to Beaver ideal subdivision. The idea that the Biden administration has introduced is having, if one of those neighborhoods exists, for every person that buys a lot and builds a house in one, there should be one for a Section 8 housed individual. So somebody that literally can't afford the mortgage, they're subsidized, the taxpayers pay for it, and then they're just there so that they have an equal opportunity to, and I'm using their own verbiage, hence the air quotes, not saying that I'm for or against it, I'm just stating what it is, so that they have an equal opportunity to prosper under the American dream. That's the idea. And it's forcing it's forcing, historically where Section 8 housing and like, I don't know, like it's just what it was, like the slums, the ghettos, like the poor, whatever you want to say, all of those people lived in like a certain area of the city, and then everybody else, or not everybody else, but the different tax brackets lived in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is like around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is, right? So you're having these ideas and policies kind of put into place that changes it, which that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, especially in the area like Kaisertown. Kaisertown used to be 100% Polish.
Mm-hmm.
Old Polacks, everything was immaculate. I mean, everybody was white, and then it went to like African American, and then it went to Middle Eastern, and now it's Middle Eastern, and same thing with Lackawanna. Everybody in Lackawanna used to work at the steel plant.
Mm-hmm.
Lackawanna was built for the steel plant. All of those houses were built for the employees of Bethlehem Steel. Now it's all Muslim. Everybody will tell you that.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Right.
And they have a totally different way of life. So you're seeing the culture clash where one Muslim family will buy one house, and then there'll be like 30 people living in the house. That's just what they do. That's how it is. So, and it's not politics. Like, that's just the way of the world. That's what it is. And if you go, if you know anybody in Lackawanna that's lived there for more than 10 years, they all say the same thing. And they have a different culture. They have a different lifestyle. It's not, the Beaver family where they go out and they edge the lawn. Like, some do, but a majority don't. And they just live a different life. They're not as clean, some people say. So it's just like it's different, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So, and our parents told us that. They're like, yeah, like you don't want to live from this street on because like everything is getting pushed out. And you're like, yo, okay, like it's not that bad. And then you live there, and 3 houses down, there's an armed robbery.
Yeah.
Like,
you can see it the most because growing up, I always thought that like the center of commerce and like economy was the Galleria Mall. Now you don't go anywhere. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that place starts losing a lot of stores and like is the next McKinley Mall, because it seems like Niagara Falls and like that area in their mall out there, or their whole like commerce area where they have individual stores like Best Buy and Barnes and Noble and stuff outside of an actual mall. That's going to be the way of the future. Galleria Mall is not doing well at all.
well, it's also sinking.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, the building is sinking. So there's that too. But yeah, there's a lot of play.
The sad part about it, though, is that when you drive the thruway, that's where you're driving through. So when you look out the left and the right window, you're not enthralled by Buffalo and what Buffalo has to offer, because it's a depressing thruway to drive. Once you go outside of that thruway, then you understand like the beauty of Buffalo, which is the Trader Joe's Plaza over in Niagara Falls Boulevard. It's downtown Canal Side. It's the suburbs that you go to after that. Like, driving through Buffalo, for anybody that's going to be doing it relatively soon, it's getting off of the 90 and actually exploring in the suburbs or the city proper, because just in general, the thruway isn't a great area, which is sad.
Yeah, but that's reality.
Yeah.
I could walk to the Galleria Mall from my house.
Mm-hmm.
There's sections of my own town I don't go to unless I'm carrying. I can be alone. I can be with my wife. I could be walking my dog.
Yeah.
I'll still carry. Like, I don't care, but and then there's certain neighborhoods that I don't because there's no need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way of the world. Like, that's just, I don't know, security first lesson always. But yeah, it's very interesting to see what areas have changed in our lifetime of 30 years. There's sections of Hamburg that used to be all woods and swamp and marsh, and now there's huge developments inside of them. And it's job security for me. Like, I'm waiting for it, but it's sad because it's also destroying, like, nobody from Hamburg who's been there for 30 years wants what the North Towns is in Hamburg.
Right.
Nobody. The fact that they painted lines in the municipal parking lot in the village of Hamburg is annoying. Like, it's great that the village of Hamburg is booming. It's amazing, but
But
nobody wants that much traffic.
But to that point that we were talking about earlier with the people, or that primary towns getting worse, people like us are moving to those towns.
100%.
So you have no choice but to build it up more.
Yeah.
And you have no choice but to put parking lines in there because our people like you and I are saying, screw Cheektowaga, screw West Seneca, let's move to Hamburg or Orchard Park or East Aurora, because that is the place that we feel like we belong because of the way that we've grown up.
We've also had conversations, if money was no object, we would buy 50 acres and not develop it. Just own it to keep it the way it is so nothing can happen to it. Like, leave it alone, dude.
It still might be an option.
Might. Yeah. I mean, I can't fathom, like, I don't know. It really bothers me that it's because, dude, there are homes that are being developed and apartments that are being built in Hamburg that aren't occupied.
Yeah.
So why build them?
Right.
What is the point? Nobody's moving in. So we're just building it to build it in hopes that in 6 years it's going to happen? That's so dumb.
Dude, they're going to be building apartments over, at least I think, Center and Union, right next to that Tim Hortons that you worked at by the 400. Or 400. They're putting in construction there. I think it's going to be apartments above. Who's living in apartments above that?
Oh, yeah, where the Sunoco used to be.
Yeah, who is living there?
I don't know.
It's in the corner of nowhere. Like, there's nothing around there that makes you excited to live there. What are you doing?
You know why? The entrance to the throughway's right there.
Right, yeah, so that makes sense. But still, who would want, like, a top floor apartment there? What are you going to look at? The Sunoco across the street?
No, dude. You know what you're looking at. You know what you're looking at. If you got the roof
smokes
penthouse.
walking into Tim Hortons?
No.
Oh.
You're looking at
Schwabbles?
Eileen's Bakery, baby.
That's far away.
Not when you're on the roof. Every house in West Seneca is no more than 2 stories, bro. If you got
That's
a 7-story building and you're on the roof, there is 100% chance you can see Eileen's from that roof. From that intersection, it's not that far away.
I did a golf club deal in Eileen's Bakery parking lot. I sold my golf clubs there. I met up and it was just this guy and he's like, "How are you? Gonna shoot low 80s here." And he's just super excited to go golf, and that was in the Eileen's parking lot. Just a little
Nothing like
tidbit
getting a
there.
fresh almond ring from Eileen's.
Hell yeah,
They need to be on the show.
they sure do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining today's episode of the Buffalo Happy Hour, episode 197
Or 8.
or 8.
Depends
one
on
of
the
two.
backlog.
We're almost at 200. What
I
are we
know.
doing for 200?
Do we
Are
say
doing
this every
anything good?
time? We say this every time.
Yeah, but we got to do something. I feel like we have to do something more. This is what I'm thinking. We'll talk about this when the cameras turn off, but I kind of want to tease a little bit now to see what your thoughts are. And I want all you listening, all 4 of you to listen, and to comment down below what you think, because what my thought is the way of podcasts, where they're going in the future, isn't necessarily going to be 1 3-hour episode every week. I think what it's going to be is going to be 4 15-minute clips every week. So it's more consistent uploads and more direct content rather than just sitting and talking about nothing, you know?
What do you mean talking about nothing? We're solving
about
world
nothing.
problems right now.
I mean, we are, but still, I feel like the way of the future is like more smaller uploads instead of just like one big upload on a Monday.
All right, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you did drink with us, please remember always drink responsibly. Be the person named Michael.
Do not litter.
We're out.